I am happy to introduce 2021's first featured artist for the RainerShine art kits, Sheila Hicks. Sheila Hicks was born in 1934 in Hastings, Nebraska. She received her BFA and MFA from Yale University in painting. She studied under the famed colorist Joseph Albers, and it was actually Joseph Albers' wife, Annie Albers, a textile artist in her own right, that encouraged Sheila Hicks's first travels. She spent a significant amount of time in South America and Central America upon graduating, receiving a Fulbright scholarship to study in Chile, and then moving to Mexico, where she lived and worked for about 4 years. During this time, she really immersed herself in local cultures and learned a lot from local craftsmen and artisans about weaving techniques and textiles. This was very transformative to her kind of career as an artist, as she did study painting, but this really encouraged her to spend more time with fibers, and she is now probably one of the most famous fiber artists today. Upon leaving Mexico, she moved to France and has spent her time between Paris and New York ever since. But I think what is particularly interesting about her work is the role of travel and the role of kind of cultures across the globe. She continues to learn from local artisans and in particular cultures. She's spent a lot of time, as I mentioned, in Chile and Mexico and France, but has also spent time in Morocco, India, Israel, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, India, if I haven't mentioned that, Japan, and that's just to name a few. She's always learning, she's always inventing, she's always picking up new materials to work with, and I think it's really encouraging to kind of see that in her work. Her work is typically atypical. She does very small weavings to monumental sculptural pieces that can imitate kind of floor-to-ceiling columns or huge boulders. She's always incorporating different fibers and different found materials into her pieces as well. And we're just going to try to kind of capture her spirit, but also learn kind of fundamental weaving techniques as well this month. So I'll take you through the kit, what you will be receiving. I will say very upfront and transparent that this might prove difficult for some of the younger artists. I have included a third project so that they can at least kind of learn a little bit about a weaving technique, kind of under over with paper. Everyone does get a wooden loom and yarn to play around with, but if this proves to be too challenging for them at this stage, hold on to it, revisit it in a couple of years, or by all means, feel free to do it yourself. I think January is also kind of a time to kind of slow down and learn kind of process-oriented I thought it would be fun to do a process-oriented project because we do tend to, I guess, depending on where you live, lucky people in California might not have this problem, but we've been spending a lot of time indoors, and this is not going to provide you an immediate result, but is something that you could revisit over a week's time and kind of create a project out of. So the first thing, as always, that you receive is a biography on Sheila Hicks, and then, of course, instructions for the projects. The first project is entitled Minime, which she calls her small weavings. It's not a contraction of mini-me, instead it is a French word that means minimal. She has worked on the same small wooden loom for decades, so this might not be something you keep for decades, but perhaps you will. Her small weavings really do act as a time capsule. She incorporates found objects from her travels, so seeing these kind of almost quick sketches, which are not quick at all, will kind of take her back or take the viewer back to a particular place and time. So as I mentioned, yeah, we will be doing a paper weaving project to really understand the concept of kind of warp and weft and the under, over patterns that you can create. For that, you will just receive a piece of paper with a line to fold, and then lines to cut to create your own kind of paper loom, and then some pieces of paper to go over, under with. The second part of this project is a loom. The first level kids will receive a loom that's already been strung, and I have kind of skipped over some of these tabs at the top and bottom to create kind of a looser strung loom, so there aren't as many over and under. When I get to it on the demonstration, I will show you how to string the loom for level 2. You can choose to skip if you'd like, or do every one. I will say if you do every one, it'll just take more time, and if you skip, it's a quicker project. You will also be receiving a variety of different yarns of different thicknesses and colors. I included some pipe cleaners as well, so some different materials to play around with, and some raffia. By all means, if you have things at home to use, please go ahead. Ribbon works, or I guess depending where you live, different grasses. You can use feathers, all sorts of things you can weave into these looms. And I have included kind of some more specific weaving instructions. Someone had pointed out to me, that the nice thing about Sheila Hicks's work is that it really goes beyond the over and under. It's not so rigid, and I totally agree. But I do think what's important about a practice is kind of learning the fundamental techniques before kind of venturing out to kind of a more individual approach. And the kids' pieces might turn out to be perhaps, at least on the surface, look more like a Sheila Hicks piece instead of a traditional weaving. But anyway, I did think it was important to kind of to learn the technique. And just because it's quite a lengthy project, I might not fit the whole start to finish in the demonstration, so I did kind of want to show you what kind of a finished piece could look like. This is kind of taking great care to make sure that I did follow the over-under all the way through, and used a variety of different yarns. You do have the opportunity to put this on a dowel, and then you could, tie a string and create a wall hanging. I'll leave that up to you. It is in the instructions, but feel free to just have this as a piece. The second project is a little looser, and it's using more of a wrapping technique. There is not a whole lot of instruction I can give other than there's different ways to do it, but ultimately you will be kind of using the yarns, pipe cleaners, the raffia, whatever materials are left over from the weaving to wrap these dowels. I'll include some links below the video of some of her work, but she does do these kind of wrap sticks that she calls talking sticks, and kind of I don't remember I think they were like listening boulders, but they're really interesting. And this one I made a little mobile out of, so you can do that as well. But it's nice and kind of dynamic and fun. By all means, you don't have to kind of create a mobile, something that can just lie around. But yeah, I think I typically started out with a larger piece of a larger width of yarn, so something like this, doing kind of a loose wrap and then tying it off, and then went back with some of the kind of more fine yarn over it. But yeah, I think this is really fun, and again, something that everyone can enjoy and everyone can do. Hang it up, have it at your house, and enjoy. So with that, I will do a quick demonstration and hope that you can follow along. I have included additional videos on weaving below. There are a lot of them out there, but I just chose a few ones from the Met that does a really nice kind of stop motion animation of weaving. There are a lot of different techniques, so this is just pretty simple and what I thought would be appropriate, but by all means, it's something that you can keep around and restring and reuse, so I hope that you will continue to do so over the years. I hope you enjoy the projects, and thank you again for joining us. Happy 2021!